Hello everyone. Online students, please switch on your cameras. Premchand, Vaishnavi, Jaban, Priyanshu, Ankit, Shankar Babu, hello. Please switch on your cameras, everyone. Fine, Gayatri. All right. So, for the people who may not be knowing me, I'm Anubhav Sharma. I'm here, faculty for Indian polity, governance, social justice, ethics, and I also teach public administration. I'm not kidding. I actually take these many subjects. I mainly take polity and governance, and whenever there is some time, then we'll actually put in some batches for ethics as well. Okay. So I've been teaching for good, what, 10, 11 years now, right? I've been teaching public administration for about 7, 8 years. And today, what we are trying to understand here is details with respect to public administration. So the idea is very simple, that when we talk about preparation for UPSC, I think we all must be knowing here that taking the right optional becomes very important for the very simple reason your score in optional is going to be one of the biggest determinant in order to clear the exam. In this respect, a lot of time what happens is students essentially take their optional without being properly informed and being aware about it. In this respect, it becomes very necessary that we are doing at least our bit by which we are able to take an informed choice. In this regard, what exactly is most important with respect to you taking your optional? In my opinion, the most important aspect is that you enjoy that optional, that you enjoy reading, studying about that optional. For the very simple reason, if you think about it, when you talk about GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, this is something that UPSC is giving you. They are giving you the questions, which is going to be the same for everyone. But the very moment they are asking you to pick an optional, it is you who has taken an optional. As such, they're expecting you to provide an expertized understanding of the subject. It is no longer a general perspective that is required with respect to GS 1, 2, 3, 4. आप निकल सकते हो general answer लिख के, but same is not true with respect to your optional. As such, as far as possible, we should be making a very informed choice. In this respect, I think you must be knowing that for every optional that we offer at Rouse, we are having a session like this where we are trying to tell about what exactly that option is about. तो हम इसमें इस सेशन में क्या क्या अचीव करना चाहते हैं? What exactly do we seek to achieve? Number one, we'll understand about the syllabus of public administration. Number two, how far it overlaps with general studies. It again becomes a very important metric for us to make an educated choice. Number three, how exactly that is, in these classes, we are going to go about with respect to coverage of the syllabus. And number four, I would want you to ask your questions, anything that you would want to ask with respect to optional, with respect to overall preparation of UPSC. ठीक है, एक एक करके स्टार्ट करते हैं. First and foremost is share it, है ना? Nice. First and foremost is, let's start with what do we mean by public administration? Anyone? What do we mean by public administration? बता दो. तू सोचा? नहीं. See, the thing is, I think we all must be knowing that there's something called a state. There's something that is called a state. State क्या है? It is that entity which society has given power to take decisions on behalf of the society. State वो चीज है जिसको society ने power दी है that we want you to take decisions for the society. Because if a society is not able to take collective decision, there can be anarchy, there can be chaos. If we want to live in a social order, in a legal order, in a manner in which we are able to live in harmony, we require certain norms, certain laws, certain practices that everyone in the society should follow. In this regard, what exactly we have? We have created what we call a state. अगर इसको करीब से समझे, if we want to understand what exactly do we mean by state, we actually can see there are three types of power that we have given to state. First power is power to create laws. Second power is power to implement these laws. And third power is power to provide justice administration. In other words, when we talk about state, what exactly we say? That, well, legislative power is the first form of power. We are going to allow state to make laws that are going to be applicable on the people of the society. Second, it's not only about that, well, we are giving you the power to make laws. There will be people who are not going to follow laws. In this regard, they will need to be punished, they will need to be caught, they will need to be forced. That is why we require you to also have the power to implement laws. In implementation, क्या दिमाग में आएगा? Police, क्या दिमाग में आएगा? Armed forces. The idea is what? We essentially are authorizing state to use force if at all someone is breaking the law. यहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा है? In this respect, what we also have is judiciary, justice administration. What is justice administration? The way in which justice prevails in society. Let's say someone has been arrested. In this regard, we believe this person has broken a law. But that person believes, no, I have not done, I have not broken a law. I need to present a defense. In this regard, judiciary will be that entity which is going to provide justice to you. Are you able to understand this point? ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आया. Now, अब historically और sociologically इसको समझते हैं. When we talk about state, what exactly if at all we go back 2000, 3000 years, what exactly will come in our mind? Monarchical state, kings. In this respect, if you think about it, we are having a monarchical system, but ultimately what we have done is to give this power of the state to one person called king. King will be the person who will make laws. King will be the person who essentially will give directions to implement such laws. And if at all there is a dispute in this regard, the king will also act as a judge. As I always say, बाहुबली सोचो, महेशमती में what exactly मेरा वचन ही है शासन. If you have seen Bahubali, in this regard, what exactly is happening? We essentially have given the power of the state to a monarchical head. किसको नहीं समझ में आया? Power तो यही तीन है, but it all comes to one person, that is king. Make sense? Then what happened? Society evolved. Slowly and steadily, what exactly we saw? Society wanted an order in the way in which powers of the state should be organized. In this regard, what exactly happened? There were a number of debates, discussions, theories that evolved with respect to what is the right conceptualization of state. State मतलब कैसा होना चाहिए, most ideal state, most proper state. In this respect, evolved the field of political science. They essentially talked about what? They talked about what do we mean by legislative powers? What do we mean by democracy as that instrument by which we are going to have legislative powers? What do we mean by a state having executive powers? What exactly it includes? What exactly it does not include? Just because we have given you the power of state, does it mean that you can kill anyone? You can put anyone in jail? What exactly do we mean by judicial powers? Are you able to understand? In this respect, various theories of state, various theories of power, various theories of authority, all these things evolved the science of, that is, field or humanity of political science. Are you able to understand this point? In this respect, subsequently, eventually what happened? We actually saw around the world, around Europe, around the globe, we actually saw the rise of democracy. In this respect, if you think about it, the right field to study democracy, democratic state, what is the right form of democracy, parliamentary democracy, monarchical democracy, or something like presidential democracy, it was political science which was doing it. But as a part of it, it was realized that, well, what is required is that, yes, there is society, and yes, society has created state, but then state is created for the society. Society is not created for the state. State को बनाया ताकि we essentially are able to take care of society. In this regard, what is necessary? We essentially will need to keep an eye on state. That is, yes, we have given you power, but that doesn't mean you can do anything with this power. मेरी बात समझ में आ रही नहीं आ रही? We have to not only tell state what exactly are the powers you have, we also will need to tell them what you cannot do with these powers. आप क्या नहीं कर सकते इन powers से? Came about constitutional democracy. किसको नहीं समझ में आया? What exactly is a constitution? It's a book where we have written what exactly are the powers of the state and what are the limitations on the powers of the state. It's like a rule book that state will need to follow. For example, हमें पता होगा, we all are having fundamental rights. We all are having those rights which cannot be taken away by anyone. In this respect, the idea is state, we have given you the power to make laws, but that doesn't mean you make a law that takes away a fundamental right. State, we have given you the power to execute the laws that you are making, but the way in which you're going to use force, the way in which you're going to use police, army, vagera, vagera, it cannot be that you are infringing, violating my fundamental rights. In other words, constitution, that book essentially has become the way by which what is happening? What is happening is we are going to ensure state is working for the people, for the democracy. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? ठीक है? सही बात. But then if you think about it, let's say you all elected me to be that person who's going to make laws for you. And let's say he's the executive. In this respect, the idea is that you have already told me, "Ki, dekho bhai, this is the book. This is the book that is called Constitution, and we want you to follow this Constitution while making laws." Sahi baat? And we have also said the executive, please do not break the Constitution while implementing laws. But let's say I am still making laws which is violating this Constitution. I'm still breaking this Constitution. When you say, "Arey bhai, this is something that you cannot do," and what exactly I said? No, I think I am not breaking the Constitution. In this respect, what exactly is the problem? The problem is, in our system, we have created the Constitution and we have said to the person we have given power to, that is legislature, you cannot break the Constitution. But at the same time, we are dependent on their goodwill to not break the Constitution. हम अपेक्षा रख रहे, we essentially expecting कि देखो, they are going to be decent people, they are not going to break the Constitution. Not necessary. It could be the person who have given power to is corrupt, as I said, as we know that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it was realized, you know what, it is not that we should be working in this manner. What is required is we need to have someone else who should act as a referee. एक referee, एक umpire होना चाहिए, and certainly the umpire cannot be a person from legislature or executive. So we decided, you know what, judiciary will be given the power of judicial review. What does it mean? What it means is I am legislature, let's say he's executive and she is judiciary. In this respect, if I have made a law which you citizens believe is something that is going against the Constitution, you don't have to appeal it to me or to executive. You can go to judiciary. And if judiciary says this is a law which violates Constitution, there's nothing I can do. I just have to accept what judiciary says. In this respect, what we have done, if you think about it, is a separation of powers. What is separation of powers? The person who's going to have legislative power is going to be separate from the person who's going to have executive power is going to be separate, most importantly, from the judiciary. And with judicial review, we are actually having what is called as checks and balances. Judiciary is going to keep in check on none of my action is something that goes against the Constitution. Judiciary is going to keep a check on executive. None of your action should go against the Constitution. बात सही है? But then थोड़ा मामला tricky है if you think about it. Because in a democracy, you voted me into power. You voted me to be the person to make laws. In this regard, if I'm making laws, there will be interpretation of law. In this regard, we are going to judiciary for proper interpretation. But if the interpretation power of judiciary is very broad, they might start making laws. वो तो against democracy हो गया. Do we elect our judges? We don't. We elect only our representatives, like only our legislature. As such, while we want judiciary to do judicial review, we also would want judiciary to exercise a kind of discipline, exercise a kind of method, exercise a kind of knowledge by which they essentially are ensuring the balance in democracy. Okay, keep an eye on legislature and executive, but that doesn't mean that you start taking our powers away and you start performing a job, because that will go against democracy. Democracy should be only people should elect the people who have the power to make laws. As such, another field of humanities was born, that is law. I hope you have to understand the point. Law essentially will be focused on the laws that has been made by legislature. Law will need to be executed by executive, but how judiciary should be interpreting laws, how judiciary should be interpreting constitutional laws, how judiciary should be interpreting legislative laws, simple laws. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? In this regard, what exactly we saw, suddenly it was felt, well, political science is not the field where we actually can get answers of anything and everything. We essentially will also require another field of humanity to evolve, that is law. तो political science evolve हो रही है, अब law भी evolve हो रही है. Make sense? Is it clear? ऐसी चल रही थी दुनिया. Subsequently, what happened in 19th century, in 1887, President of USA, Woodrow Wilson, essentially wrote a paper in the sense, an article. In this regard, what exactly he wrote, he emphasized that something that we need to understand is, indeed, there is a job that has been given to legislature. Indeed, there is a job that has been given to judiciary. But it seems that we are not understanding the role that executive will need to play. हमने लेजिस्लेचर बाय एंड लार्ज के लिए पॉलिटिकल साइंस बनाई है, हमने जुडिशरी के लिए बाय एंड लार्ज लॉ बना दी है. ऑफ कोर्स दे विल बी ओवरलैपिंग, but at the same time we are not emphasizing enough on what exactly is the job of executive. Why? Because if you think about it, job of executive is to implement the laws made by legislature, but job of executive is also to implement judicial orders. मान लो आप IPS बन गए, IAS बन गए, हाई कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर दिया, वेल यू नीड टू गो एंड अरेस्ट दिस पर्सन, यू नीड टू गो एंड रिलीज दिस पर्सन. इट विल बी यू हैज टू गो एंड अरेस्ट एंड रिलीज दैट पर्सन, राइट? प्राइम मिनिस्टर, चीफ मिनिस्टर थोड़ी करेंगे. In this regard, what exactly is the idea? The idea is executive has been given what? Has been given the power to implement both legislative and judicial orders. And something that must be kept in mind is that executive must do their job in a manner in which they are being very clinical. They should not become too subjective. They should not let their opinion to come into the way in which law is being made, the way in which judiciary has said what they have said. In this respect, when we essentially talk about the way in which state can perform its function, it is necessary that we are also trying to understand the art of execution of legislature, art of execution of judiciary. Anyone not able to understand the point I'm trying to say? The art of execution. In this respect, what was the idea? What was the central core idea of Woodrow Wilson? That we need to study executive separately as a distinct field of study. And that study will be called as public administration. What is public administration? Public administration is that distinct academic field that deals with execution of laws and execution of judicial orders. Make sense? When we talk about executive, if you think about it, executive can be broken down into two parts: political executives and permanent executives. Who are political executives? The people who essentially form the government, the people who vote in, who are permanent executives, the people who essentially are bureaucrats, IAS, IPS, IRS. But if you think about it, why exactly are we calling them as temporary executive or political executive, and why exactly are we calling them as permanent executive? Because these guys will need to win elections. Abhi Modi ji now again is fighting election, and if he wins, he can continue for 5 more years. If he doesn't, then he cannot. But if you were an IAS officer who got selected in 2014, you will still be working as an IAS officer. You will still be working as an IPS officer. In other words, your job is permanent. You essentially will serve till the age of 60. But for a politician, for a person who essentially is going to win election, every 5 years, that person will need to win election. Once you win election, you become prime minister or chief minister. That means you become a political executive. But if you think about it, what exactly do we mean by democracy? Democracy means that people are going to elect the people who are going to have the power of the state. But then, while we can see that, well, political executives are people that we are electing, Modi ji, Rahul Gandhi, whosoever, we are going to elect. But these permanent executives are not the people that we are electing. For example, are you going to stand in election? No, you're going to clear an exam. You essentially are going to clear the exam of UPSC, and the best of the best are going to get selected. But isn't that also against democracy? इसको नहीं समझ में आया क्यों? Because we are giving you the power to have the power of the state, and in democracy only such people should have the power of the state who are elected by the people. In this respect, the other side is कि यार अगर permanent executive को हम लोग नहीं रखेंगे, if you are not having bureaucracy, merit based bureaucracy, what exactly will happen? We will not be able to implement the laws that legislature is making. For example, अगर parliament makes a law, can Modi ji come to every city in India, every village in India to implement it? No. Can Home Minister go to every city, every village in India? No. What exactly is required? A organization, a structure of bureaucracy. But at the same time, because we would need to find the right balance with the democracy, we are going to make sure that permanent executives will come under the control of political executive. If we are not having the system, then our democratic structure is getting weakened. Look at Pakistan. What exactly is happening? Military is having that is a very disproportionately high stake the way in which decision making in Pakistan happens. अगर तुम्हारा permanent bureaucracy is running the state, that means it is not democracy. As simple as that. It should be your political executive should be running the executive, should be running how exactly state is functioning. Make sense? यहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा है? So a field of public administration will essentially require us to understand how political executive should function and how, more importantly, permanent executive should function. यही समझना है? At the same time, it should also understand what should be the right relation between political executive, permanent executive. Is it clear? This is where the field of public administration comes about. अच्छा, यहाँ तक तो एक basic understanding है provide की. But if at all we are trying to understand the field of public administration, what exactly are we actually trying to achieve? हमारा goal क्या है? If you think about it, the goal is what is the right way, the best way in which execution of policies, execution of laws, execution of judicial orders can be done in the most clinical manner. मेरी बात समझ में आ रही नहीं आ रही? What is the best way in which we can get the execution done? In this respect, we also will need to understand about what? Anything and everything by which we can improve our execution. If you think about it, it would mean that we also will need to understand some aspects of management. MBA करते क्या करते? यही तो सीखते जाके. What exactly is the best way in which we can manage business? Here it is about management. It is not about management of business. It is management of administration. It is management of execution. So public administration will also become a field in which not only we are going to understand what is executive, but what exactly is required for executive to become more productive, more clinical, more successful. Make sense? यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया? Now let's try to understand syllabus of public administration. So what exactly we have? Like every paper of humanity, there will be two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. For most of the humanities, I hope you must be knowing. Paper 1 deals with world aspects of it, while paper 2 deals with Indian aspect of it. For example, geography होगा तो world geography, Indian geography. Sociology होगा तो world sociological understanding, Indian sociological understanding. Public administration होगा तो world theories of public administration and Indian public administration being understood in detail. Make sense? सही बात? ठीक है. Let's start with paper 1. These are all the units that you need to study. This is the whole of syllabus of public administration, the units, right? I haven't written the subtopics, but the units is सारी की सारी. Introduction. What exactly we are going to study in introduction? Introduction will be about understanding what exactly do we mean by public administration. What is the right definition of public administration? What is the meaning of public administration? If today we want to study public administration, what exactly do we need to study? Then there are different schools of thought. Some would say that, well, you would need to study public administration. It is mainly a managerial study. It is more about understanding the art of administration, art of management. On the other hand, there are other scholars who आके क्या बोलेंगे? They will say, no, we are not dealing with business. Business requires management. Here, we are dealing with people. It requires public administration will need to study the law to understand what exactly is the intent of the law, to understand what exactly is the spirit of the law, what law seeks to achieve. Matlab, you need to understand about legal aspects of state in order to be a good public administrator. Some other school of thought will come with some other views in this regard. There will be different ways in which we'll understand how we have different approaches to understand the meaning of public administration. That is one part of it. Second aspect of introduction is we are going to draw the timeline of evolution of public administration from 1887, जो Woodrow Wilson ने बोला, to today, that is 2024. Are you able to understand the timeline in which everything developed, the phases it went through? तो उसमें क्या देखेंगे? Initial phase, when it was about basic understanding meaning of public administration, then scientific management theory, then the rise of humanistic behavior, behavioral theories. तो पूरे एक timeline समझेंगे. What was the impact of Second World War? What was the impact of Vietnam War? What was the impact of developing countries getting independent by 1940s, 50s, 60s? India also got independence in 1947. तो इन सारे एस्पेक्ट्स को समझेंगे. देन द लास्ट फेज ऑफ कोर्स इज गोइंग टू बी अबाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन on the meaning and understanding of public administration. So this is something that we are trying to achieve in introduction. समझ पाए? Then what we'll do, we will understand theories of public administration, thinkers of public administration. अब इसको समझते हैं. See, the thing is, whenever we talk about any field of humanity, कोई भी humanity की field होगी, what exactly we have? We essentially are going to have thinkers. Political thinkers, sociological thinkers, historians, etc., etc. In the same manner, we are going to have administrative thinkers in public administration. One of the things that has happened with public administration as compared to other humanities is it's relatively a very new field. So 150 साल ही तो है. As I said, the last thing that happened with understanding of state was understanding and recognizing that, well, we need to study executive as an organ separately. तो अभी 150 साल ही तो है बस. It's been just 150 years since we had public administration getting born in the field of humanities. अभी तो बच्चा है. One of the good things about it is the fact that you don't really have that many thinkers in public administration. In fact, if at all you want to understand who exactly are the core thinkers of public administrations, they are very, very few, just 3 or 4. All others are thinkers that we have taken from other fields. Management field से कुछ लिया है, psychology field से कुछ लिया है. We have tried to get few thinkers so that we are able to have some thinkers for public administration. But then, as compared to all other humanities, thinkers in public administration are very few. Make sense? In this regard, what exactly are the type of thinkers we are going to study? पहले आए scientific management thinkers. They believe that, well, everything will need to be calculated. Scientific management पता है? Scientific management, to put it very simply, let's say you essentially are able to do what? You're able to manufacture 1 bottle per hour. So if at all we are having you to work for 8 hours, how many you can manufacture? 8. But then when we are talking about him, he is able to manufacture 16 bottles in 8 hours. In this regard, he must be doing something different from all of us. Let's try to understand what he's doing. We essentially will make it into a module, and then we are going to teach all of you. That would mean that even if you're not able to get to 16, but at least you will be doing 12, 13, 14 more than him. In this regard, what we are doing is we essentially are understanding techniques of doing something. We are going to understand the work, time, and motion study. From there, we essentially will understand about what? From there, we are going to understand about satisfaction and motivational theories. What do we mean by that? Think about it. If at all you have a chauffeur पता है? Chauffeur जो a very fancy driver, सलमान खान का ड्राइवर जैसे सोचो. नहीं मतलब उससे फैंसी क्या होगा जो सलमान भाई नहीं चला लेते, मैं चला रहा था गाड़ी, सोचो. राइट? In this respect, the idea is what? The idea is that we essentially are talking about a person who's getting very well paid. In this regard, you would ask him कि भाई तू दरवाजा खोल दे whenever I'm coming. That person is going to open the door. But you please lock my car. You take this stuff, take it upstairs, take it here. On the other hand, when you essentially go to a person जो Uber driver है जो वो क्या बोलेगा? OTP बताओ. In this regard, what exactly has changed? What has changed is their motivational level, because this person has the incentive of getting paid more. On the other hand, this Uber or कौन से वो Ola driver essentially is not having that incentive. That means your productivity is getting linked with incentive, and that incentive is leading to satisfaction, and that satisfaction is leading to more productivity. That means it is not as simple as scientific management theory. You essentially will need to understand about what exactly is the way in which you can increase satisfaction of the people. Make sense? This gives us a very simplistic understanding of satisfaction. हमको लग रहा है more पैसा, we essentially will do it. But then many of you can actually earn a lot in corporate job. You're still aspiring to get into IAS, IPS, where the payment is going to be a fraction of it. That means it is not that satisfaction is only an outcome of monetary benefits. It is also an outcome of the respect, dignity, nature of work that you're doing. मेरी बात समझ में नहीं आ रही? There's so many people who aspire to get into armed forces. There are so many people who essentially would want to get into very challenging jobs. Why? अब जैसे Doctors Without Border अगर आपको पता है. So we are having the best doctors around the world wanting to serve in this NGO where they're going to pay it zero. But just because this is something that is their passion. In this regard, we need to also understand about what exactly do we mean by satisfaction and what exactly it means in order to get that satisfaction. मेरी बात समझ में आ रही नहीं आ रही? In this aspect, we are going to understand about different administrative thinkers, Martha, MP Foley, Mary Parker Foley, that is, Chester Bernard, Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon का हम लोग जो पढ़ेंगे, he actually got Nobel Prize for it. We are going to understand about what exactly he did, what exactly he said, which was so beautiful, which was so wonderful. From there, we are going to move towards administrative behavior. Administrative behavior, again, is something which is linked with what? Which is linked with administrative theories with respect to productivity, with respect to incentives. But then here we are trying to understand productivity not from standpoint of what we are doing with respect to कि आप लोग क्या कर रहे हो. It is mainly with respect to what? It is with respect to how exactly are we able to control the behavior of the people. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? For the people who follow cricket, Moeen Ali, when he plays for England and when he plays for Chennai Super Kings, there's a very big difference. He's at a different level altogether when he's playing for CSK. In fact, anyone who plays for CSK actually gets on a different form altogether. Look at Shivam Dubey. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? अच्छा, funny thing is, whosoever leaves RCP and joins CSK, वो तो बहुत ही अच्छा खेलने लगता है. Shane Watson, Shivam Dubey, all that. Anyways, the idea is that if you think about it, the player is the same, the talent is the same, everything is the same, but what exactly has changed? Organizational culture has changed, motivation has changed, behavioral aspect has changed, and this is what we study in these two aspects. How exactly behavior plays a role with respect to increasing efficiency of administration. Administration को कैसे ज़्यादा हम efficient बना पाए. Are you able to understand? Organization में we are going to study about different types of organization. What type of organization is suitable for what kind of work? What exactly are the type of organizations which are not suitable? For example, Planning Commission of India. एक simple example लो. Planning Commission was designed in a way in which we wanted to create plan for a country where state is going to have number of PSUs, state is going to monopolize number of sectors. ये तो पता ही होगा. Economy, basic polity हमने पढ़ा है. But then after 1990, 91, 92, new economic reforms है. In this regard, we kept on privatizing everything, liberalizing everything. In this respect, what exactly is happening? What is happening is the way in which state is going to function, the way in which now planning will need to happen, that has to change. But then Planning Commission never changed. And subsequently in 2014-15, we decided what? Modi ji, that is, new government decided, it makes sense that we are disbanding Planning Commission and we, from the scratch, create a new body, and that was Niti Aayog. Now, Niti Aayog, by and large, is doing the job that Planning Commission was doing and much more than what Planning Commission was doing, and that too with lesser number of people. In this regard, what has happened? Not only productivity has increased, not only efficiency has increased, we have also managed to reduce the size of the body. That means organization and its types plays a very big part. किसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा? Is it clear? Then we will also understand about accountability and control, right? Just a second. अब इसको समझते हैं. Accountability and control. See, if you think about it, what we have done when we created state was the fact that we gave them a lot of power. In this aspect, the most apparent and most obvious way in which you see power is what? Power in the hands of executive. देखो, MP तो राहुल गांधी भी है, MP नरेंद्र मोदी भी है. What is the difference? Narendra Modi is the prime minister, he is the executive, he has executive power, while Rahul Gandhi does not. In this regard, what the point I'm trying to say is, executive, in the most apparent manner, has the power of the state. They can arrest you, they can put someone in jail, they essentially can do demonetization for that matter. In this regard, what is the idea? The idea is that when we talk about power being given, we will need to figure out a way by which we can hold them accountable for the way in which you are using power. We have already said what are things you can or cannot do in form of constitution. We have already said there are limitations on your power. but then we will need to have a mechanisms by which we can keep a check on their use of power to hold them accountable. Accountable का मतलब समझ में आ गया ना? Answerability. In this regard, what exactly is the way in which we can hold them accountable? We need to create mechanisms. For example, if you think about it, if I am legislature, I make a law which violates your constitution, you can go to judiciary and judiciary is going to control me. They are going to tell me, well, this is something that you cannot do. That means we have a judicial control over executive. मेरी बात समझ में आ रही है? What we can also have, there is, जो अगर आपने पॉलिटी पढ़ी है, parliamentary control, legislative control over executive. They can ask questions, they can pass motions, they can even pass no confidence motion, the government will fall. We also have other mechanisms like media. Media can also ask questions, can do exposes. We have mechanism where people can hold us accountable with respect to RTI, citizen charter, social audit. The idea of this chapter is we need to understand what do we mean by accountability, what exactly executive is going to be held accountable for, and what are the ways in which control mechanisms have been developed. What are the ways in which we are having those ways to control the executive? किसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा? Right? ठीक है. Then administrative law, another very interesting field. What is administrative law? See, the thing is, when you talk about the way in which any democracy should function, if you think about it, there should be equality. There should not be any form of discrimination. There should not be any form of favoritism, nepotism. In this aspect, what exactly we see? We see, let's say there's a person who attacked another person with a lut. And then what exactly happened? This person B died. A was beating B with a lut, and this person B died. Shouldn't A be held accountable? Shouldn't A be tried under the law? Yes. अब इस situation को थोड़ा बदलते हैं. What exactly we see? A is an IPS officer, and he was trying to control a crowd. Crowd was getting out of control. In this regard, he had to issue lathi charge. And lathi charge, this person B died. If you think about it, events that transpired are exactly the same. But what has changed is the context. In the first context, there was a private citizen going after another private citizen. In the second context, we have an officer of law trying to ensure that power is being exercised in the manner in which law and order is getting maintained, due to which he had to exercise power, for which a person died. In this aspect, the idea is, will it be fair that we are treating both these cases in the same manner? Of course not. But the problem is, if I am a judge and I am looking at these activities, am I qualified to look at it in an objective manner, or wouldn't it be better that a high-ranking IPS officer who has seen how exactly things develop on the ground is better placed to assess the situation? किसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा? There can be two types of judges. A judge who essentially is a proper judicial officer, a second kind of judge who essentially is looking into this case, and there's a person who's a very high-ranking IPS officer. Better officer आपके तरीकों में कौन सा लग रहा है? High-ranking IPS officer, because he actually knows how exactly what exactly it takes. ये बस अभी गौतम गंभीर को we are going to make coach of Indian cricket team because he has played cricket. अगर अब जय शाह को बता देंगे कंट्रोवर्सी हो जाएगी नहीं हो जाएगी? अभी कम कंट्रोवर्सी that he is running BCCI. Why? Because you essentially would think that, well, a person who actually understands this, but then it also is creating an issue. While we can appreciate this logic, we are actually going against the concept of accountability. We would want that if at all executive has done something which is against my liberties, against my right, I should have the power to go to judiciary. Because judiciary is going to be neutral, it's going to be fair, it's going to be separate from executive. In this system where I have to go to an administrative court, I'm actually going to executive to raise a complaint against executive. अभी IPS बोलेगा यार ये तो मेरा ही भाई है. Why exactly I'm going to take action against this person who, मेरी बात समझ लो. In this aspect, the field of administrative law deals about this issue. The issue is, should we be having separate set of laws applicable to people who are executives, Or should we be having a common law applicable to citizens as well as to people who are executive? In this regard, there are two schools of thought. एक फ्रांस का है, they believe that there should be separate set of laws, separate set of codes, जहाँ पे a person like IPA should be looking into this case. And एक England का है, Dicey का है, where he talks about common law system. No, it should be a proper judiciary that should be looking into it. We need to understand how exactly both schools of thoughts are, and then we will also understand it in context of what happens in India. Is it clear? Okay. Comparative public administration, इसको समझते हैं. तो बात क्या थी? If you think about it, India is a parliamentary democracy. UK is a parliamentary democracy. But then the way in which parliamentary democracy works in UK and India, are they the same? They're very different. They have ideological based parties, we have caste based parties. We have communal issues, they don't have communal issues, they have different kind of issues. Are you able to understand the point of trying to say? They are not a federal polity, we are a federal polity. In this regard, what do we see? Of all the ways in which, in terms of structure, we may appear the same, but in practice, we are very different. In this regard, just because you believe there is a structure that is working for one country, that does not mean the same structure in that exact form is going to work in another country. Why? Because societies are different. The context is different. किसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा? Are you able to understand the point I'm trying to say? Why? But think about it. We essentially brought democracy, we brought new ideas, we brought socialism, and ultimately what happened by 1970s, 80s, we were having caste-based political parties. Something that no one could have imagined, although many of the people had imagined 1950 itself. One of those was Subhash Chandra Bose. Be that as it may, what exactly is the idea? The idea is that because society in its structure, practices, customs, sociological practice are different, we cannot actually presume just because you're having the same structure, it is going to work in other countries. Every society will require a tailored approach by which you're able to get to the right administrative system which is suitable for them. So India में something like anti-dowry laws are important, which are not important in UK, US, क्योंकि वहाँ ये problem ही नहीं है. India में you require laws with respect to untouchability, laws with respect to caste, क्योंकि it is relevant, but that is not the case over there. In the same manner, issues with respect to racism, child protection is something which is a more severe issue in Western countries as compared to India. As society changes, the way in which state is supposed to behave, administration is supposed to work, will also have to change. As simple as that. In comparative public administration, the understanding was that, well, for a very long period, public administration has been focusing on finding one best way. एक technique निकाल लो, सबको दे दो, and that is going to work. But that is not the way in which things are working. What exactly happened in 60s and 70s? There was a new school of thought that emerged, that is comparative public administration. उन्होंने कहा, just go and do ecological study of every society, try to understand how exactly the administration functions, and to understand how exactly it is, that is integrating with the societal practices and norms, and then try to understand what is required for that society. In this regard, you are doing the same studies for other countries, and then comparable countries should be compared. For example, India can be compared with a country like Bangladesh, a country like Brazil, which essentially are having same sort of problems, challenges, and we can understand some of the solutions that Brazil has done to their country and try to bring them in India. अगर patient एक ही जैसा है तो दवाई भी काम कर सकती नहीं कर सकती. The same can happen the other way around. The problems that we are facing in India, the solutions that we are developing can be taken to similar developing countries. They can look at UPI, Unified Payment Interface. For a very long period, Western companies, Western societies have been pushing for use of credit card. वहाँ तो बहुत vogue में था, popular था, but it never became popular in India. But suddenly UPI has become very popular in India. And because of the successful experiment, what exactly we saw? Now UPI is being used in Brazil, is being used in Argentina, Bangladesh, and it is also getting the same success. I hope you have to understand the point I'm trying to say. There have been number of dengue and mosquito-related diseases that essentially are there in Brazil, and the ways in which they have tried to counter it, the same techniques has been brought by Delhi government in Delhi. and which has worked for Delhi. The idea is this is the way in which things should function, and this is that unit which deals with it. Comparative public administration, an intelligent way to compare different public administrations around the world and find proper solutions for it, instead of looking as one best way. Is it clear? Fine. ठीक है. ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स कैमरा ऑन कर दो, मुझे पता तो चले आप लोग हो. राइट. दीक्षा, प्रेमचंद, वैष्णवी, मीनाक्षी, डी. डी पता है तुम्हें? वो एक नहीं पता नहीं, दाऊद इब्राहिम की जो कंपनी थी दैट वाज कॉल्ड एज डी. जो अंडरवर्ल्ड था ना उसको डी कहते थे. डी कंपनी है. Anyways, development dynamics. What exactly is development dynamics? See, one of the things that was realized subsequently, eventually, in public administration was the job of a public administration bureaucrat is to bring about development, in the society. That is why we want state, that is why we want legislature, laws, everything is about bringing development. But the question is, what do we mean by development? What does it mean to bring development? Kya lagta hai, what is development? Economic growth of GDP. But if that is development, we essentially can have very high growth rate, very high GDP, but at the same time, there is very high inequality. That means, well, development should not only be about GDP, it should also be about what? HDI, per capita income, HDI, Human Development Index, poverty index, how exactly we are able to solve this? Make sense? But then at the same time, if at all we are limiting our understanding of development only to this, what about gender equality? What about that? Yes, we essentially might be a very rich country, but how many positions? I mean, are we having equal pay for equal work for men and women? Are we having same number of opportunities, degree of opportunities for the women at par with men? Are you able to understand? चलो हमने वो भी देख लिया. व्हाट अबाउट रीजनल बैलेंस? फॉर एग्जांपल तेलंगाना एंड आंध्रा का जो पूरा डिबेट था, जो पूरा स्टेट डिवाइड हुआ, वो रीजनल इम्बैलेंस पे तो हुआ. तो डेवलपमेंट का जो बून है दोनों पार्ट को इक्वली नहीं आ रहा in this regard. But exactly we see development dynamics is that field of public administration. We try to conceptualize development. We try to understand what development means. In this regard, we are going to understand about what is called as development administration. That is how development is administered, different approaches with respect to it, and different ideas. इसी का एक बहुत interesting idea क्या है? The role that bureaucracy will need to play in democracy, and second, what is called as anti-development thesis. That is set of scholars who are challenging the present development paradigm. इसमें क्या हो जाएगा? There were new set of people who emerged and said कि आपको लग रहा है economic growth, manufacturing is everything, but look at the impact it is having on environment. Look at the impact it is having on globalization. Then you have a feminist movement that says that, well, you are talking about development, you're talking about GDP, but what exactly is the impact of this development on gender equality? Are we able to get gender equality? मेरी बात समझ दो. The idea is what? Development dynamics is going to be that aspect in which we're going to conceptualize development, and we'll also understand all those perspective views that challenges the notion of development. Make sense? Then personnel administration. What is personnel administration? How exactly we are going to manage the personnel who are going to work in the bureaucracy. For example, the study of executive is study of political and permanent executive. In permanent executive, we are going to have IAS, IPS, IRS. Of an Indian context ka dekho, we need to have a mechanism by which we recruit them. We need to have a mechanism by which we train them. We need to have a mechanism by which we allocate them cadre. We need to have a mechanism by which we promote them. We need to have a mechanism by which we give them mid-career training. We need to have a mechanism by which we essentially are able to have performance appraisal. All these aspects are aspects of personal administration. This one is right? You will end up studying about what exactly is going to be your life. Right? Public policy. This has emerged to be the most important field of study in public administration outside UPSC. In fact, it can be said that 10 years, 15 years down the line, public policy in itself will become a new optional of UPSC. If at all optional survive till 15 years, वो एक अलग question है, right? In this regard, what exactly is public policy? See, ultimately it was understood that when you essentially talk about public administration, it will come down to how well you are able to implement public policy. What is public policy? Public policy is that, well, there's going to be An agenda means what exactly is the issue, what exactly is the problem that we seek to solve. Then there will be intel collection. Intel means what exactly are the resources that we are having, what exactly are the problem, whom and how many are going to be beneficiaries. Then there will be development of strategies. What exactly are the different strategies that will need to be developed. Then we are going to pick the right strategy and we are going to implement the right strategy. In implementation of the strategy, what exactly will happen? We essentially will see what exactly are the problems, what is working, what is not working. That means we are going to monitor the implementation, and with this monitor, we are going to give what? Feedback. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? Feedback will help us to change our policy in a way in which we are able to make it more effective for the future. एक simple example GST देखो. In the beginning, it seemed very chaotic. In the beginning, it was creating a lot of confusion. But then in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, it kept on getting better. It kept on getting smoother in its implementation. Website got very stabilized. People being able to pay GST became a lot more smoother. GST returns became a lot more predictable. Slabs are getting rationalized. Even till today, it is getting better. It is leading to what? Better administration of tax system, because public policy is working in a proper manner. In this respect, what exactly are we saying? That if you are a public administrator, if you are a political administrator or a permanent administrator, permanent executive, it all comes down to your ability to get this right. मेरे पास समझ लो, you do not create the agenda, वो legislature में होगा, but you essentially can play a role with respect to everything else जो हमने समझा. Every stage of public policy will need to be understood. Every stage of public policy will need to be understood from standpoint of different school of thoughts. कैसे कैसे ideas है इसमें, क्या क्या किया जाता है, with examples. Are able to understand? And that is what the field of public policy is. In recent time, what is happening is, not just in India, around the world, you actually see that in multiple ways, we are having what? We are having private players getting into the job that a state is supposed to do. For example, construction of road, for example, public-private property, for example, public tenders being taken by private contractors. And now it is getting very organized with respect to corporates playing a part. मेरी बात समझ लो? In this respect, what is happening is suddenly there is a demand of such people who understand how exactly government public policy works, what understands how exactly rules are framed, how exactly things are in motion, and these people are getting hired by corporates. अगर आप देखोगे टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ सोशल साइंस टिस, तो इनका पब्लिक पॉलिसी प्रोग्राम से बहुत बच्चे वो कर रहे हैं. दैट इज दे एसेंशियली आर गेटिंग सम वेरी गुड पैकेजेस. You actually look at IIT Bangalore, no, IIM Bangalore. They are having a separate course on public policy because it is in demand, it is in vogue. I'm not talking about government jobs, I'm talking about public, that is private corporate jobs. In fact, its importance has gone to that point in which now it is compulsory for every IAS officer to get training in public policy. एक कोर्स कराता है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इन पब्लिक पॉलिसी. इफ यू आर परफॉर्मिंग वेल in your training, in your performance, everything, you could be sent to Singapore or you could be sent to UK for this course of public policy. And if you're not performing well, you will be sent to Delhi, Indian Institute of Public Administration. पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा, right? But point ये है कि based on your performance, you essentially will be sent to the right school. Is it clear? But it is how become compulsory for IAS officers. For IPS, it can be based on your career trajectory that DOPT has administered. That is as established. Where exactly we see you after 8 years, 10 years, 12, 15 years. तो हो सकता है even for IPS, IRS, this course might be given. But right now, एक Indian Economic Service and then Indian Administrative Service में it is compulsory, right? Economic Service में recruitment ही बंद हो गई है, तो अभी Administrative Service रह गया. Techniques of administrative improvement. What exactly is this chapter? It is about understanding 360-degree performance appraisal. It is about understanding workflow management. If at all you have done MBA, there's nothing that you're going to study here that you already do not know. These are just simple managerial techniques that we are supposed to understand. How many questions are getting asked from it? By and large, zero. Like once, अभी पिछले 5 या 6 साल में एक सवाल आया, that's it. Right? By and large, not that important, but the point is we are going to still cover it. Then financial administration. What is financial administration? How exactly finance of the country will get managed? In this regard, I think you must be For the people who have already studied economy, you must be knowing there's something called as monetary policy, there's something called as fiscal policy. How administration of monetary policy happens, how administration of fiscal policy happens. We have to understand about what are the ways in which budgets are formed, what are different forms of budget. Then we need to understand what exactly is the way in which budget in India is formed. That is what financial administration is about. Are you able to understand the point I'm trying to say? Is it clear? Because we are going to have a financial regulatory authorities like RBI, like SEBI, it becomes an aspect, a topic of public administration. RBI की गवर्नर हम इलेक्ट थोड़ी करते हैं, सेबी को हम इलेक्ट थोड़ी करते हैं, but these are very important public institutions that manages financial administration of India. किसको नहीं समझ में? सही बात? This is your paper 1. Then what is paper 2? एक एक करके देखते हैं. Evolution of Indian administration. Again, as I said, the number of thinkers are very few. With respect to Indian thinkers, there is only one thinker, that is Kautilya. Kautilya, that is Chanakya, had written Arthashastra. Arthashastra was written in a way in which he is talking about administration of that is Mauryan Empire. In this regard, till we essentially had the field of public administration, the only lens with which we used to look at Kautilya was that he was a political science thinker. Abhi bhi mante hai, but now that we have something called as public administration, we have separated the public administration part of what he has written in Arthashastra. Apart from it, what exactly we study in evolution of public administration? Mughal administration. Aspects with respect to how exactly they had systems in place with respect to Mughal. Again, nothing that you haven't studied in medieval history. We are going to just understand it in a better manner. Then we will also understand about British administration. What exactly were the systems of administration that were set up by Britain, and what exactly has been the impact of British administration, legacy of British administration in our system, that is till today. Aaj tak hai wo impact. Was it clear? That is what evolution of Indian administration is about. Make sense? Okay. Philosophical and constitutional framework of government. What do we mean by government? Executive. In this regard, what exactly is the idea? What exactly is the philosophy under which government in India is supposed to work? What exactly is the constitutional framework that has been given to the government? It again will come down to things that we have studied in polity. Preamble को समझना, what exactly it is applicable on them. Supreme Court की judgments को समझना, how exactly it is applicable on them. We need to understand about different ways in which we essentially have, that is application of constitutional values on public administration. Secularism, socialism, etc., etc. Make sense? Then what exactly we have? Public sector undertakings, PSUs. Public sector undertakings कैसे public administration है? Because they are managed by government servants. PSUs, for example, you essentially have NTPC, you have HAL. They are different from your Infosys and your Mahindras. Why? Because these are private companies. These are companies. They are profit-driven companies, but they are under the control of the state. If you think about it, it is really unique. Why? Because forget about PSUs. Any other thing that state is doing is not for profit. Are we having police because we want to generate profit? No. Are we having IAS officers because we want them to generate profit? No. We just want them to do proper administration of law and order and social affairs of the country. But with respect to PSUs, interestingly, we are creating them with public funds. We are recruiting public servants to manage them, and we also expect them to generate profit for us. In this regard, it's a very unique situation, but at the same time, can it be PSU starts behaving like Reliance Industries, Adani Industries, Infosys? No, because they are managed by public funds, and we essentially would want that they should also have a welfare aspect. Second aspect is, well, you can take all sorts of risk if at all you're running Mumbai Indians. Right? लिया ही उन्होंने हार्दिक पांड्या को कैप्टन बनाया against all sorts of logic. But then the same cannot happen with respect to the way in which you're running PSUs. For example, जब वो चल रहा था controversy with respect to Adani, Hindenburg, what exactly people were saying that what exactly is going to be the impact on LIC? क्योंकि यार तो government की है. What exactly will be the impact of privatization of railways on public sector banks? The idea is what? Idea is because it is the money of the public that is involved. There will be yardstick and standards of accountability which is going to be applied on it, and it is going to be much higher as compared to the way in which things happen for private organizations. Make sense? तो इसमें हम देखेंगे what are different types of PSUs, what exactly do we mean by memorandum of understanding, what exactly are these Navaratnas, Maharatnas, what exactly are sick industries, what is this investment. These are things which we anyways have to understand in detail with respect to economy. पबैट में भी हम पढ़ेंगे. देखो एक कहावत है with respect to पबैट. पबैट अनाथ है. Because if you think about it, PUBAT in itself is yet to develop into a field of academics which can be called as complete. So what it does is it keeps on borrowing things from different fields. थोड़ा political science से constitutional framework उठा लिया, थोड़ा economy से public sector undertaking उठा लिया, थोड़ा management से with respect to management theories उठा लिया, and somehow they have ended up creating a topic, a subject called public administration. Make sense? That actually, in a way, I mean, if you're looking at it from standpoint of UPSC, is advantageous to you for the reason syllabus becomes too small and syllabus in a very major way overlaps with general studies. वो कैसे होगा? We'll understand. Then state government, अच्छा, union government and administration, state government and administration. Union government administration means how exactly union government works. That is how exactly your prime minister, president, how exactly council of ministers, how executive decisions taken, etc., etc. The same we'll need to understand at the state level, how governor works, how state legislature works, state executive works. In this respect, we also will need to understand about union-state relations. जो polity में भी पढ़ते हैं, but यहाँ पे detail में पढ़ेंगे. That is, what exactly is the way in which union and state are supposed to work together? How exactly they are supposed to run the same constitution? How exactly there should not be any conflict in their legislative relations, administrative relations, financial relations. We'll also understand about emergency. What exactly can be the ways in which this relation can change? Now, one of the tragedies that I see that happens with respect to many of the coaching institutes that teaches public administration, they kind of treat this to be at par with what you need to study in polity. देखो, no doubt it will be overlapping with polity, but the detailing that you require in public administration, of course, logically will need to be a lot higher as compared to what you're studying in polity. It cannot be Lakshmikant is as good as your understanding of polity. For example, president is something that we need to understand both in PubAd as well as in polity, no doubt. But at the same time, in polity, we do not study about different presidents. In public administration, we need to understand about every president. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, Dr. Zakir Hussain, V.V. Giri Saab. Then we understand about the emergency period, right? Then we'll understand about Zail Singh. We understand about APJ Kalam. The idea is that we need to understand about the period of every president in office. Are you able to understand the point? And their relation with their respective prime ministers. The same is with respect to prime minister also. Evolution of PMO, evolution of prime minister's office during the time of Nehru, during the time of हमारे Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, Indira Gandhi. Then the reforms that had happened during the time of Rajiv Gandhi, then coalition era, then Manmohan Singh era, and then of course Modi era. Are you able to understand? ये criticize नहीं करेंगे लेकिन मोदी को पहले बता दें. You don't get marks then. Plans and priorities. How exactly planning happens in India? That is the idea. How exactly Niti Aayog works? How exactly Planning Commission used to work? What were the reasons why Planning Commission had to be disbanded? What exactly is the way in which we created Niti Aayog? How exactly Niti Aayog is functioning? Comparison between Planning Commission, Niti Aayog, good things and critique of Niti Aayog. Make sense? Basically, itna hai. Is it clear? Fine. This is what it means. Then, district administration since independence. What exactly is the idea? Once you become an IAS officer, subsequently 3 to 4 years, you will also become a district magistrate. In this regard, the point is, what exactly do we mean by district magistrate? What do we mean by district collector? What exactly do we mean by district administrator or officer? In this regard, what we see that we follow the system that was created by Britishers for a number of reasons that we'll understand. But then it has been that we have kept on reforming it. बहुत ज़्यादा reform नहीं आया है. But there are some good or some important reforms that has happened with respect to, we have taken away magisterial powers of the district magistrate. What do we mean? Previously, district magistrate can also act as a judge for petty crimes. छोटे crimes के लिए DM can actually act as a judge. Now that is not allowed because of what we have done. अब हमारे यहाँ जो वो है, that is smaller courts है, that essentially is going to take care of it, subordinate courts. In this regard, we need to understand about what is the role that a district administrator DM plays today and what exactly has been the evolution that this district administration has gone through. Then civil services in India, IAS, IPS, IRS, कैडर मैनेजमेंट, रिक्रूटमेंट, यूपीएससी का फॉर्मेट जो आप एनीवेज जानते हो वो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में पार्ट ऑफ सिलेबस है. 250 marks, ES1 के है, ES2 के है. This is something that we understand. Then we understand about what exactly are the things that is studied in the training. जो आप लबास्टा में जाके ट्रेनिंग में पढ़ते हो, what exactly are the subjects that are being covered, what exactly do we mean by Bharat Darshan, what exactly are the ways in which we are having field training, and again we essentially take the person back to the staff training, that is वापस लबास्टा में आना पड़ता है for mid-career training. So this is what we study over there. That is how exactly we manage our civil services. Make sense? Is it clear? Then financial management, how exactly Indian financial administration happens, how exactly RBI functions, how exactly SEBI functions, what exactly is monetary policy committee, what exactly is the budgeting form that we use, what exactly is the way in which CAG works, that is how exactly auditing happens in India, what is the technique of accounting that we follow. All these things will be studied in financial administration. What exactly we study over here? देखो बात क्या थी? At the time of independence, there was this debate that had happened. Should we be continuing with the British model of bureaucracy, or should we be creating a new model of bureaucracy altogether? सीधी सी बात है that if we are an independent country, we should be creating a new Indian form of bureaucracy. Why should we be continuing with British bureaucracy? That too, when we know British bureaucracy has been given a lot of power with almost no accountability. We have given them a lot of arbitrary powers where they can do anything, because the idea was this bureaucracy created by Britishers was always there to control Indians, to exploit Indians. उनका डेवलपमेंट थोड़ी कराने के लिए उनको रखा था. And that is why there was a stark difference between the powers of British bureaucracy working in Britain and British India bureaucracy working in India. But at the time of independence, as we'll understand the lecture, there were a number of reasons why we had to continue with the British model of bureaucracy. क्योंकि अगर हम उसको भी चेंज करते बहुत अनस्टेबिलिटी आ जाती, इंस्टेबिलिटी हो जाती, विदाउट कि नहीं अभी हम कंटिन्यू करते. बट हमने एक प्रॉमिस किया, एक कमिटमेंट किया that we are going to keep on reforming this bureaucracy created by Britishers in an independent India, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. In this regard, by and large, बहुत ज़्यादा reforms आए नहीं, and that is why I can very confidently say Indian bureaucracy is the most powerful bureaucracy across any democracy of the world. जो पावर्स आपकी IAS, IPS, IRS की इंडिया में हैं आज भी, in no democracy around the world, that is functioning democracy around the world, you will see such powers. Why? Because by and large is a continuation of British India bureaucracy. जो पापा कहते थे बचपन से बेटा IAS बन जाओ, वो भी समझते थे इस चीज को कि because the power that we are having are powers which are a lot. In this regard, it's not as if we haven't tried it. हम लोग हमेशा committees बनाते थे. We kept on creating committees which is going to give us recommendations with respect to what must be done to reform bureaucracy. Administrative Reform Commission बनाई हमने, संतनम कमेटी बनाई हमने we essentially created या सरकारिया commission, we created second administrative reform commission. In this regard, only thing that we didn't do is to act on these recommendations. हमने कुछ किया नहीं in order to act on it by and large. But at the same time, we increase the syllabus of public administration. हमको पढ़नी पड़ेगी for the reason they are asking questions from here, right? ज़्यादा tough नहीं है, but these are some very important recommendations that we need to know. ठीक है? This is what we're going to study over there. Then rural development and local urban government. देखो 73rd 74th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट हुआ था, अगर आपने पॉलिटी पढ़ा है 92 में, where we had created पंचायती राज institutions and we had created municipalities. In this regard, we were previously having union government and state government. Now we were also having local government. In this respect, the first thing that we need to understand is before creation of local government, how exactly were we approaching rural development? How exactly we were approaching local urban development? In this regard, by and large, we were dependent on the IAS officer, district collector. We actually were hoping district collector to be that person who's going to ensure proper administration of the rural part of India, because as we know that even today 60% of India lives in villages. But then something massively changed with creation of local bodies, with creation of local panchayat, with creation of municipalities. In this regard, we need to see what exactly was the impact of this change and how much in reality it has been a change. Because again, as we'll see, नाम की है municipalities, powers are still in the hands of your DM, district commissioners, district collectors. Are you able to understand? ठीक है, उसको हम समझेंगे. Law and order administration. What exactly is the idea? When we essentially look at the way in which public administration should work, अभी तक तो हम लोग social development, social order की बात कर रहे थे, but then there are law and order issues. Law and order issues with respect to riots, law and order issues with respect to communal violence, law and order issues with respect to that is anything and everything that affects your law and order. मेरी बात समझ लो? In माफिया थ्रेड, ऑर्गेनाइज माफिया, ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम, जितने इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी में पड़ते हैं उसकी बहुत सारी चीजें आ जाएंगी इसमें. Anyone not able to understand the point of trying to say? In this regard, this is what we'll understand with respect to law and order administration and what can be done to make it better. Then significant issues in Indian administration. उन्होंने टॉपिक्स दिए, डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट, पॉलिटिसाइजेशन, कोलिशन एरा, जबरदस्ती की जो टॉपिक डाले हैं, बट सिग्निफिकेंट इश्यूज इन इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन मींस एवरीथिंग अंडर द सन. This is that part of PubAd syllabus in which they try to fit in one question from current affairs. Whatever is significant today that can be asked. For example, in last 1.5 years, impact of lateral entry into bureaucracy, अगर आपको पता है क्या है, that has become significant. So there is where you can see a question. In recent time, what exactly has happened? There have been questions with respect to politicization of ED, politicization of CBI. That has become significant issue. Are you able to understand the point I'm trying to say? What I can promise you is the fact that whatever might be the current affair question they might be asking from here will be something that was मतलब बहुत बड़ा बड़ा आपको दिख रहा था for last 1 year. It cannot be that it escaped your eye. Are you able to understand the point I'm trying to say? In this aspect, now that we have understood syllabus for paper 1 and paper 2, something must be very clear to you. Both papers are interconnected. मेरी बात समझ लो? Look at it. You have organization and you have public sector undertakings. Isn't public undertaking a form of organization? You have accountability and control, administrative law. You have union government and administration, state government and administration. In this regard, what exactly we need to understand? What exactly are the accountability mechanisms under union government? What exactly are the control mechanisms against union government, state government? The same is with respect to administrative law. We are going to understand about administrative tribunals. In this regard, what exactly is happening? What is happening is better is our understanding with this topic. Automatically, our understanding of this topic is getting better. More we are understanding about this topic, our understanding about this topic is also getting better. Development dynamics, we cannot understand development dynamics without understanding district administration and without understanding rural development. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? More we are understanding development dynamics, many of the rural development topics will get covered. Many of these district administration topics will get covered. The same will be the other way around. The same can be said with respect to personnel administration, civil services. Personal administration is about understanding about techniques which are required to manage personnel of bureaucracy. Civil services में इंडिया में हम कैसे मैनेज करते हैं वो देखेंगे. Are you able to understand? Then public policy, plans and priority. How exactly public policies are formed? How exactly plans in India are formed? What exactly are the priorities? Are you able to understand how exactly Indian public policy is formed? Then techniques of administrative improvement. In this regard, administrative reform since independence. What is required for us to improve? What is required for us to reform? Then financial administration, financial management. In this aspect, what exactly we see, one of the good things about public administration as an optional is there's a very clear interconnection between paper 1 and paper 2. More you study paper 1, automatically paper 2 will get clearer. More you study paper 2, automatically paper 1 will become clearer. If you have seen interviews of people who have cleared from public administration, you'll actually notice that they say that we keep on writing examples from paper 1 in paper 2 and paper 2 in paper 1. We kept on connecting paper 1 and paper 2, and this is what they are trying to say. There's a very clear connection between the two. More you're able to connect, better will be the answer that you're writing. वो एक unenriched answer लगेगा कि आप यहाँ पे Indian administration के example दे रहे हो, and यहाँ पे when you're explaining things with respect to Indian administration, आप world administration के example दे रहे हो. So this again actually decreases the syllabus of public administration. ये बात. Then let's try to understand overlap with general studies. देखो logic बड़ा simple है. Game है ही नहीं that you are here to study optional. You are actually here to clear the exam. And if you want to clear the exam, you will need to excel not just in optional, but in your GS 1, 2, 3, 4 essay, interview, as well as an optional. So apart from you going for that optional where you are actually able to find interest, it will be a very intelligent choice if you actually are also able to analyze if I'm taking command in my optional, how much it is helping in my GS preparation, in my general studies preparation. What exactly we see? We have general studies paper 1. These are things that I've taken from syllabus of general studies paper 1. Post-independence consolidation and reorganization within the country. One of the newer things that got added in the syllabus of UPSC was the fact that now you also will need to study about what exactly is the way in which history happened after independence. Because one of these funny things that we do is we consider modern history to be something that happened before 1947. Something that happened 75 years before is modern history to us. It doesn't make sense. As such, what exactly UPSC has done? They have included post-independent history to be something that you need to study for GS1 as a part of history. When you study in public administration, what exactly you study? Different prime ministers, different presidents, development that has happened during different prime ministers, how exactly politics changed, the rise of coalition era. All these things are core aspects of what exactly we need to study even in post-independent history. As such, what we see that when we look at this and when we look at paper 2, chapter 1, evolution of Indian administration, legacy of British rule in politics administration, paper 2, chapter 4, union government, cabinet secretariat, prime minister's office, evolution of prime minister's office, evolution of different presidents. It is going to help us to cover this topic. Are you able to understand the point? Then role of women, women's organization, population associated issues, poverty and developmental issues, urbanization problems and their remedies. This is the society part of your paper GS1. What exactly we have? Paper 1, chapter 8, development dynamics. We are supposed to understand about what is development. Yahi to hai bhai. We have to understand about women and development, self-help group movement. We need to understand the same over here that we are women's organization, self-help group movement that had happened, issues with respect to rise of feminism, etc., etc. Then social empowerment, communalism, regionalism, secularism, again, topics of your society. In this regard, in paper 2, chapter 2, philosophical and constitutional framework, you have to understand about secularism. When we understand law and order administration, we will understand problems linked with communalism, problems linked with regionalism. Are you able to understand? We understand about social empowerment in philosophical and constitutional framework, social justice, economic justice, political justice. Again, we are able to see what the GS1 and public administration clearly is overlapping with each other. So, ये बात ठीक है? Good. GS2. GS2 में what exactly we see? That almost anything and everything in GS2 overlaps with public administration. In fact, public administration is nothing but advanced version of Indian polity. When you look at GS2, what exactly you have? GS2 mein you will have polity plus governance. You will have social justice and you will have international relations. With respect to public administration, पहली दो चीजें will get covered completely. Anything and everything that is there in your polity, governance, and anything that is there in social justice is getting covered in public administration. IR का almost कुछ नहीं cover होता. Let's be honest. But then IRGS is anyways not very tricky. अगर आप focus magazine को अच्छे से पढ़ते हो, you'll actually see for last 7 to 8 years questions have come directly from focus magazine का IR. Only thing general in general studies is IR. Otherwise everything is not general. Anything is not general. वो थोड़ा advanced ही होता है. Although polity काफी आसान आया था इस साल. Anyways, GS3. GS3 में again economy, technology, biodiversity, disaster management चीजें हैं. पता होगा ना आपको syllabus? In this regard, but exactly we see Indian economy, issues relating to planning, issues relating to mobilization of resources, growth, development, employment. यहाँ पे क्या पढ़ते हो? Financial management, paper 2, chapter 9 में. Budget as a political instrument, that is how budget is formed in India. role of finance ministry in monetary physical areas. I hope you're able to see that the same as the syllabus for GS3. Plans and priorities, how exactly planning happens in India, how exactly Niti Aayog functions, how exactly planning commission used to function, what do we mean by indicative planning, what do we mean by decentralized planning. यहाँ पे आपको क्या देखना है? You essentially will need to understand about how exactly planning happened in India, mobilization of resources happened in India. यही तो है, ये बात समझ रहे हो? Then effects of liberalization on economy, changes in industrial policy and their effects in industrial growth. ये आपका GS3 में है. In paper 1, chapter 8, development dynamics, impact of liberalization on administration and developing countries. Again, it is overlapping. Disaster and disaster management, paper 2, chapter 14, significant issues. You have to understand about disaster management, same topic. Again, clearly, we are able to see a good degree of overlap between GS3 as well as public administration. GS4. GS4 is ethics. In ethics, you will need to understand about what? Understand about public service values and ethics in administration. In this, you need to understand about problems of in public services, ethical concerns and dilemma in government, executive, private institutions, laws, rules, regulation. You need to understand about accountability. You need to understand about ethical governance. You need to understand about moral values in governance. Are you able to understand the point I'm trying to say? Then let's look at here. You need to understand about role of bureaucracy in development. Same cheese, values that are required for bureaucracy to develop. You need to understand about code of conduct, administrative ethics. Administrative ethics is nothing but values of administration. In ethics, you also have code of conduct and code of ethics. This is something that is getting covered over there. You need to study about e-governance over here. E-governance, citizen charter, e-governance, that also gets covered over here. E-governance, information technology. You have to understand about in paper, paper 1, chapter 8 is about role of bureaucracy in development. Paper 2, chapter 2 will be about role of Indian bureaucracy in Indian democracy. That you will also be able to get Indian context of the ethics part of it. Then you essentially will have to understand about challenges of corruption. The same happens with respect to civil services, good governance initiative, code of conduct, civil services neutrality, civil service activism. These are things that are there in public administration. The same you need to understand in paper 4 ethics. In fact, even in significant issues, you'll actually see some of the topics of ethics getting covered. अब इसमें एक और चीज मैं आपको बताता हूँ. It's one thing that we are trying to understand paper of ethics from the syllabus of GS4. इसको थोड़ा अलग तरीके से देखते हैं. Instead of looking at syllabus of GS4, just look at the questions that has been asked in ethics in last 10 years, 12 years, जब से ethics paper आया. If you're trying to understand, analyze ethics paper from that yardstick, from that lens, you'll see everything is coming from public administration. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? There are certain topics which certainly is what is away from things that are there in public administration, but from there questions are not getting asked. And what is really interesting is questions are actually getting asked from Administrative Reform Commission reports, ARC1, ARC2. Why? For the reason this paper is about trying to understand problems in ethics of administration. And ARC recommendations are about how exactly we are supposed to solve these problems. मेरी बात से दोनों soulmates है, right? ARC is the answer to what ethics is trying to identify. And that is why it is always advised, even by good teachers of ethics, that 4th report of 2nd ARC, ethics in administration, and 10th report of 2nd ARC, refurbishing personal administration, are core to your preparation for GS4. Anyone not able to understand this point? Is it clear? And this is again where we are able to see an overlap. In this regard, you know what? Let's take a very conservative approach with respect to overlap that we have seen. Certainly, the overlap with GS1 very clearly is more than 40%. But what we are saying कि ठीक है 25% मान लेते overlap है. In GS2, we have seen no more than 2 to 3 questions are coming from international relations. That means the overlap is well more than 85%. हम 80% मान लेते हैं. GS3 में डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट से लेके इकोनॉमी से लेके सब इतने सारे टॉपिक्स हैं, हम फिर भी उसको सिर्फ 20% मान लेते हैं. Then GS4 में, as I am telling that you will be able to solve almost all the questions. खुद सोचो अगर if you understand how district administration works, if you understand how law and order works, how exactly administrative law works, certainly you will be able to answer the case studies in a very educated and informed manner. So I'm saying कि ऐसा कुछ होगा नहीं ethics में which will not be able to answer based on your understanding of public administration, but taking a very conservative approach, let's say 60%. ऐसे में you will get 2 essays. 2 essay लिखने होते हैं. I am promising you, you will be able to write at least 1 essay, if not both, right from public administration, जो आप PubAd में पढ़ोगे. चाहे वो philosophy पूछ ले, चाहे वो society का पूछ ले, everything is getting covered over there. That means 50% तो कहीं नहीं गया. हो सकता है दोनों हो जाए. हम कंजर्वेटिव लेते हैं 50% और कंजर्वेटिव लेते हैं 40%. 40% of essay is getting covered. In this respect, we also will need to add optional 1 and optional 2. ये कितना कवर होगा? 100% ना. इसमें क्या कंजर्वेटिव? 100% होगा, पूरा ऑप्शनल पढ़ रहे हैं. That means if at all we are just looking at GS preparation without optional, 45% of GS 1, 2, 3, 4 and essay is getting overlapped with your PubAd. Calculate कर लेना है, वही आएगा metric. And if at all we are adding optional 1 and optional 2, 63.5% of mains preparation is actually preparation for public administration. And again, I'm saying it's a very conservative overlap that we essentially are going for. Is it clear? मतलब बेसिक मिनिमम ये कह रहा हूँ that GS 1, 2, 3, 4 में जो आप PubAd में पढ़ते हो 60% of the paper will is going to come from it. That is what I'm trying to say, right? ठीक है. Now let's try to understand about certain recent trends with respect to public administration. पहला तो ये है questions have been direct in nature for both paper 1 and paper 2. Just pick out the question papers of UPSC. There was one brief period from 14, 15, 16 when paper, that is questions were getting trickier. But look at the questions that they have asked in last 5 to 7 years. It's very direct. They are asking questions जहाँ पे वो सीधा कह रहे हैं कि ये लिख के बताओ मैं बस बात खत्म. Then when you look at paper 2, one very interesting, that is GS2, one very interesting thing that is happening is the fact that GS2 में आपके ज़्यादा PubAd के सवाल आ रहे हैं. And PubAd paper 2 is much easier than GS2. Although this year it didn't happen, this year GS2 was actually very easy. एटलीस्ट मैंने अपने प्रोफेशनल करियर में इतना आसान GS2 नहीं देखा था जो इस साल आया था, जो मेंस में आया था. बट देन अगर इसको एक्सेप्शन मान लेते इस ईयर के पेपर को, यू विल एक्चुअली सी GS2 हैज बीन actually bit tough and everything that is being asked in GS2 is actually being asked in PubAd. In fact, जब मैं पॉलिटी पढ़ाता हूँ in GS बैचेस में, I'm actually borrowing many concepts from PubAd so that they are able to answer questions for GS2. उनको लगता है कि सर आप ये क्यों पढ़ा, सिलेबस में नहीं लिखा, क्योंकि सवाल वो उस पर पूछ रहा है. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? Then all questions from both paper 1 and paper 2 were directly from my notes and discussion. In polity, I make a promise that everything that they are going to ask in prelims and mains is going to come from my notes and from my, that is, classroom discussions and notes, except for perhaps one question. The same is the guarantee I make here, that all questions are going to come from what we are covering in the class in form of class notes. In public administration, we have the luxury of time. खूब पढ़ाते हैं. In this regard, I will give you very detailed notes with respect to anything and everything that is in the syllabus and things that has been asked in UPSC. You don't really have to look beyond these notes if at all you want to cover 95 to 96% of everything that is getting asked. That is at the most one question that might be getting asked from outside that we have covered in the class. So that is something that I promise. 5.5 or let's say 6 months is what we are going to give to this course. In the 6 months, we will be doing what? We essentially will be covering every topic of the syllabus. We will also be having that is a test series that is going to go as a part of this itself. उसके बारे में भी discuss करेंगे. Lastly, all the things that we are going to study in public administration, you anyways will need to study irrespective of the option that you're going to go, because Lavasana training is about your understanding of public administration. तुम सोचो तुम किस जॉब के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो टू बिकम एन IAS ऑफिसर, IPS officer. Who are these officers? These are permanent executives. Who are permanent executives? Part of executives. What do we do if we want to study executive? We study public administration. Is it clear? जब पढ़ना ही है तो भी पढ़ सकते हो कुछ और. चलो. These are the books that is essentially important for public administration. In this regard, it is not that you have to study all these books, but for different units, different book becomes important. In this aspect, because students have this habit of asking कौन सी किताब, these are the books. ठीक है, you also have it. You don't have to study them because it is my job to study them and give you notes from these books. Are you able to understand? What exactly is the basis on which these books are selected? पहले तो administrative thinkers. This is a book which essentially discusses about administrative thinkers, something which is bare minimum that we need to do. ये तो होनी है. But at the same time, what exactly we see? This book by Vidyut Chakravarti, Public Administration in Globalizing World. We are actually seeing questions are coming from this book. You know why? Speculation है. But Professor Vidyut Chakravarti was one of these professors who essentially played a very pivotal role in creating new syllabus of public administration. उनका इन्फ्लुएंस है कि भाई हमारी किताब से आएंगे सवाल. Idea is what it is. My job to make sure that we are, I mean, for appropriate part of the syllabus, I am covering these books. And if at all you're covering these notes, you don't really have to look beyond anything else. Everything with respect to things that are written in these books will get covered. मेरी बात समझ लो, ठीक है? ठीक है. There will not be any compromise with respect to paper 2. मैं एक चीज बता रहा हूँ, by and large when you look at institutes, one of the problems, एक मतलब बीमारी है, pandemic है, that they do not do justice to paper 2 public administration. They start with paper 1 and by the time paper 2 is coming, अरे यार ये तो पॉलिटी में, ये तो लक्ष्मीकांत में, ये तो नोट्स ले लो, ये ले लो. ऐसा नहीं होगा in my syllabus. You can always go and ask my ex students, अभी भी they are doing their GS. In this regard, my idea is that, well, you need to score very high in paper 1, you have to score very high in paper 2. You are coming to me because you want complete coverage of the syllabus, and that is what I'm guaranteeing. There will not be any compromise that will happen with paper 2. Okay? So we're also going to do answer writing practice. In this answer writing practice, we essentially, I'm going to give you questions, previous questions. You can give me your answer copies. I'm going to correct it and give it back to you. Detailed discussion will also happen with respect to the answers. Okay? We are also going to have 6 sectional tests as a part of this course. 6 sectional tests मतलब क्या? They will be sectional topics. जैसे thinkers पे एक test हो रहा है, organization पे एक test हो रहा है, वगैरह वगैरह करके there are going to be 6 tests, but then there will be 2 full length tests as well. Paper 1 का, paper 2 का. For these 8 tests, we essentially are going to also have it evaluated. This evaluation essentially has 3 people in the team. There's a team of 3 people. Right? And then they have 2 professors who are checking copies of UPSC, checking copies of public administration in UPSC. So these are professors who essentially are checking the copies of UPSC and they are going to check it. Rotational basis पे we will keep on giving it to each other. अगर वो नहीं कर रहे क्योंकि वो उनसे लड़ तो सकता नहीं मैं, तो मैं कर दूंगा चेक. But the idea is most probably they are going to contribute and they are going to check it. In this regard, why exactly do I want that? उसका reason बड़ा simple है. If I teach, if I give you notes, you write your notes exactly the way in which I have given, मैं तो impress हो जाऊंगा, marks दे दूंगा. But it's not necessary the person who's going to check your copy in UPSC is going to give you marks. हो सकता है क्योंकि subjectivity है, there will be certain different expectation that person might be having. And that is why it is always a good idea that we essentially are having a wider base who is giving us evaluation feedback. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? In this regard, it could be they might be highlighting a topic or something, a point that might be unique, and that is something that we are going to take it as a feedback. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? But this process is going to be very important because you will get a realistic understanding of where you are. It's not as if कि अनुभव सर कह रहे हो बहुत सही जा रहे हो, कहीं नहीं जा रहे हो, बढ़िया जा रहे हो जाएगा. ऐसा नहीं है. Idea is that you're actually getting feedback from people who matter. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? Is it clear? And if at all what you're writing, that is whatever I'm teaching, whatever you're understanding and you're writing in that paper, and you're able to get marks from them, that also will act as a third dose of Covishield, right? Booster, right? चलो कोविशील्ड की बातें नहीं करेंगे अभी, बहुत खराब न्यूज आ रही है उसकी. बूस्टर किसने लिया था? मैं बूस्टर नहीं लिया मैंने. मुझे लगा कि क्या लेगी बूस्टर, गरीबों को मिल जाए, ठीक है, राइट? अच्छा. एनीवेज, तो इज इट क्लियर? फाइन? एनी डाउट? ठीक है. राघव, आकाश, there is one person named Demo. Important articles from newspaper. One of the things that we are going to do, as I said, there can be one question that can be asked. we are also going to discuss articles that are going to be in newspaper, which are important for pub ad. Generally, there's this doubt that students are having कि सर current affairs के लिए क्या पढ़ना है pub ad के लिए, कुछ भी अलग से नहीं पढ़ना. You just have to study your focus magazine, monthly current affairs magazine that you're following. उसी से ही आता है. The GS current affairs preparation that you're doing, the same is required even for public administration. Is it clear? Fine. In the process, whatever doubts you're having in newspaper, you can always come and ask me. And what are things that are important? Again, I'm going to tell you. Generally, there is one yojana. मतलब हर साल तो नहीं हो रहा, but twice in every 3 years, you actually will have one yojana. Yojana तो पता ना, magazine that actually gets released every month. One yojana magazine is only about public administration. That योजना अगर वैसी आ गई है, there's a very high chance उसी से ही आएंगे सवाल. मेरी बात समझ दो. योजना कौन बनाता है? नीति आयोग बनाता है, गवर्नमेंट बनाती है. Why exactly do we need to recreate the wheel? हम क्यों फिर टेंशन ले, उल्लू पड़े, ये सब पड़े, वो पढ़ेंगे अच्छे से. आर यू अंडरस्टैंड द पॉइंट ऑफ से? कोई डाउट? ठीक है. Online students. So there will be some students who are going to take online course. See, with respect to online, what happens is students generally miss the classroom environment. In this regard, what I can do is to do my best by which you don't miss it. But then you also will need to do your part. Number one, attend classes. Number two, keep your camera on. Number three, keep on asking your doubts whenever you have doubts. In this respect, yes, it will not be an exact replication of what is happening in offline class. But then we will try to do the best we can. One thing I think now you must be knowing very clearly that we at Rouse are having the best infrastructure with respect to online classes. इतना अच्छा किसी का नहीं है. In most of the other institutes, वहाँ पे there's a person who's sitting to clear your doubts. तो उसमें टच तो छूट गया ना टीचर के साथ. तो दिस इज समथिंग दैट वी डोंट डू. वी एसेंशियली आर हैविंग this very जो आपको दिख रहा है अभी system, exactly this is what is going to continue across your lectures. What we are also going to do that whatever is the way, अच्छा आंसर राइटिंग आपको करनी होगी. आप क्या करोगे? फोटो लोगे, पीडीएफ बनाओगे एंड देन यू सेंड इट टू मी. अब इमेजेस में भेजोगे, इट विल बिकम वेरी टफ फॉर मी टू कीप देम टुगेदर. पीडीएफ बना दो, सेंड इट टू मी, आई विल करेक्ट इट एंड विल गिव यू द फीडबैक. आई विल करेक्ट इट, गिव यू द कमेंट्स एंड विल स्कैन इट एंड सेंड इट बैक टू यू. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि आईपैड पे चेकिंग नहीं हो पाती, बहुत उलझन होती है. तो आई गेट इट प्रिंटेड आउट, चेक करके किसी को बोल देते हैं यहाँ पे सज्जन को भेज का स्कैनिंग करके दे दे एंड आई विल सेंड इट बैक. ठीक है. अब होता क्या है कि लॉट ऑफ टाइम दे एसेंशियली वुड वांट टू आस्क डाउट्स. अब होता क्या है कि इन ऑफलाइन क्लासेस यू कैन जस्ट डायरेक्टली कम टू मी बिफोर द क्लास, आफ्टर द क्लास. पकड़ लिया सर, जा रहे पकड़ लिया, ठीक है. बट दैट कैन नॉट हैपन फॉर पीपल हु आर ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स. We are going to have a WhatsApp group. There you can put up your doubts. The first thing that we do whenever we start a class, we clear the doubts that are there in that online group. And second, if at all you want to talk to me directly, what you need to do is to just call me. And then we call me in the sense, just message me first, of course. Message me, we'll figure out a time. And within 24 hours, we'll definitely talk and we'll clear all the doubts. Is it clear? मेरा नंबर ले लो 9958479508. Is it clear? You can ping me, you can ask your doubts, you essentially can get all the doubts cleared. देखो, the next thing is, when we are preparing for this exam, we are, as I said before, not preparing for GS1, GS2, GS4. We are not preparing for public administration. We are preparing to get a rank. In this regard, of course, I am going to do my best with respect to giving you inputs, knowledge with respect to public administration. But even if you are having doubts with respect to other papers, and if at all I have the capacity to help you in that paper, I'm going to do my best. चाहे वो polity हो, history हो, economy हो. The idea is because it is going to be a very good conflict of interest to any that we are having different teachers for different subjects. So if at all you essentially would want to discuss, क्योंकि generally मेरे previous batches में ही रहता है that once a while, let's say once a month or once in 45 days, we have one session only with respect to strategy, what must be covered, what is important, and whatever resources that you essentially would require for your GS subjects वगैरह वगैरह. That means the idea is that I am trying to create a class where we are also having mentorship, that you are getting mentored by it. You are getting the right direction, not only for public administration, but for your overall preparation. ठीक है. देखो पानी डालेंगे तुम बड़े हो. That is the idea. ठीक है. चलो. अच्छा, फॉर द पीपल हु ऑलरेडी नो मी, क्योंकि पॉलिटी वगैरह पढ़े हैं, तो दे कैन टेस्टिफाई दैट इज द वे। अभी मैं आपसे बात, दिस इज द वे आई एम गोइंग टू बी, कुछ नहीं बदलेगा, राइट? तुम थक जाओगे मुझे देख देख के, लेकिन मैं नहीं बदलूंगा, दैट इज माई प्रॉमिस, ठीक है? चलो, नाउ आई वुड वांट यू टू आस्क डाउट्स, एक ऑफलाइन एक ऑनलाइन। पहले ऑनलाइन ले लेते, चलो। सर मोबाइल नंबर वंस मोर प्लीज। अच्छा, वंस मोर, 9958479508। सही बात। वरुण सर, दिस पीडीएफ शेयर्ड here is not opening. अच्छा, PDF is not opening. I'll ask them again to upload it. ठीक है, I'll ask the team to upload it again. ठीक है, it will open. Is it opening for others? ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि तुम्हारा, is it opening for others, Varun and others? नहीं? Man is asking, sir, my attempt is in 2026. ठीक है, is it okay to complete optional before December 2024? बहुत बढ़िया है, सुना क्या? काल करे सो आज कर. Idea is very simple, that if you essentially, this is the time a person, an aspirant like you, should be getting all the factual things out of the way. Your economy basics, your history, your polity, your public administration, as far as possible, everything but current affairs is something that is in your command. Getting that is, अगर आपका ऑप्शनल क्लियर हो गया, आपने तैयार कर लिया, पढ़ लिया, you have reasonable command over it, that is going to be a very big boost that you're going to have. You are going to understand, एक confidence आ जाएगा आपको कवर करने के लिए, ठीक है? Sir, how does financial management is different from financial administration? Financial management is about Indian financial management. Financial administration is about monetary policy क्या होती है, fiscal policy क्या होती है. कोई अंतर नहीं है. Only thing is, क्योंकि पेपर 2 में था, we are calling it financial management. We could have called it Indian financial administration. But the way in which we are going to study it, we are going to study financial administration and financial management in continuity. क्योंकि actually there can be कि there's a question that you think is from financial management that they are asking in paper 1, or there could be a question of financial administration that they might be asking paper 2. तो ऐसा कुछ वो नहीं है, there is a water tight compartment that we are having, तो एक ही साथ वो पूरा करेंगे, ठीक है? सोशो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट इंक्लूसिव फाइन, ऑफलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, कोई डाउट? व्हाट्स योर नेम? पराग, नाइस. तुम कहीं तो देखा है, तो आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल कहाँ देखा है. मुझसे पढ़े हो पॉलिटी? तो फिर कैसे देखो भाई? तो यही क्या देख लिया, कुड बी फाइन, ठीक है. एनी डाउट ऑफलाइन स्टूडेंट्स? हाँ, पूछो पूछो. हाँ, ऐसा नहीं है, ये भी सुन लो, देखो. One of the misconceptions that people essentially are having with respect to many options, I'm not saying only about PubAd, is the fact that they essentially think that कि sir ऐसा है कि they are getting less marks. There are very few options which, for example, physics, chemistry, although this year has done very well, but physics by and large essentially does not score that well. In the same manner, people have said the same with respect to Hindi literature, as much as it should be getting, it is not perhaps getting, it is scoring very well. That is not the issue, but the point is this. But when you look at the optional that are scoring or not scoring well, only thing that you need to look at is what? The people who are clearing, that is getting a rank, and the people who essentially are getting a rank with a particular optional, be it anthropology, PubAd, political science, and then the average score that they are getting. इसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा. That नहीं समझ में आ रहा. I'm saying, let's say there are 500 people who are getting a rank. Of this 500 people, let's say 48 people are such people who essentially are getting a rank in uh, rank with public administration. What matters is we need to look at what exactly is the average score of these 48 people. And that should be the yardstick for every optional. Instead of looking at how many people with a particular optional are going for, or what is the highest score that you're getting in an optional, that will never be a right yardstick. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? For example, commerce, वहाँ पे what exactly you see, that there are people who are getting 280, 290, 295, but the average score is very low. So that gives you better clarity with respect to which optional is performing, which is not performing, if at all. You essentially are keeping it that simple. अगर हम इतना simple कर दें, क्योंकि what matters is that we are looking at marks of only such people who are preparing in a proper manner. We cannot look at marks of those people who haven't really prepared, not got the rank. और जब आप ये देखते हो, you'll always see PubAd is among the top 3 for last 4 to 5 years. उसका reason बहुत simple है. PubAd is what you need to study to get into civil services. If at all UPSC would want to encourage it. मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? What happens is जो higher score होता है, वो आपको PubAd में सबसे ऊपर नहीं दिखता. That is true. That I accept. But जो average score है, that means your chance to get very good score, that is higher. That matters more. अगर आप हाईयर स्कोर पे जाओगे तो आप लिटरेचर देखो क्या स्कोर करता है. मलयालम लिटरेचर, तमिल लिटरेचर, ये करते हैं. एंड देयर आर पीपल हु एक्चुअली गो फॉर इट. तेलुगु लिटरेचर फॉर एग्जांपल, दैट आल्सो इज वन ऑफ द वेज. बट ऐसा मतलब इट्स मोर ऑफ अ मिथ व्हिच हैज बीन स्प्रेड. अच्छा, लुक एट द पीपल. अभी इस साल का द डेटा इज येट टू कम, बट टिल लास्ट ईयर जस्ट लुक एट ऑल द पीपल हु आर गेटिंग इनटू टॉप 50 विद पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. They are getting into public, that is, or top 50 with history, with pol science, with anthro. एंथ्रो फॉर एग्जाम्पल इसमें परफॉर्मिंग वेरी वेल. ये तो एक बात है, नो डाउट. मतलब अगर आप 4-5 साल का ट्रेंड देखोगे तो एंथ्रो एसेंशियली हैज डन वेरी वेल, ये एक बात है. बट बाकी सारे जो मैंने आपको ऑप्शंस बताए, दे आर प्रेटी मच द सेम. 19-20 करके ऊपर नीचे रहते हैं. आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड? क्लियर? मान सर, आई हैव नॉट completed polity till now. Could it be done parallelly with PubAd? Yes. The way in which we are going to cover it, what exactly we'll see, things with respect to polity will keep on getting covered the way in which we are covering PubAd. In fact, the first few lectures, that is first 1.5 months of PubAd, is not so much about polity. The later part of PubAd is going to be about only polity. It is going to be advanced polity. शुरू में जो administrative thinkers behavior है, anyways, it will not be overlapping with polity. Having understanding in polity perhaps can that is increase your understanding to a certain extent. But the way in which we are going to cover it, everything will get covered. ठीक है? So good evening, sir. Survivors option exam becomes deciding factor in our results rather than GS exams. The question is, sir, ऐसा क्यों है कि GS exam में is becoming a very deciding factor with respect to the way in which you're getting a rank? अब इसका कोई रीजन तो मतलब कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि फैक्चुअल रीजन यूपीएससी ने डीओपीटी में दिया है. इसको ऐसे देखो, GS 1, 2, 3 and then GS 4 and then ऐसे and then optional 1 and optional 2. अगर आप देखोगे, although these 4 papers are of 250 marks, but it is very tough for you to get very good marks in these papers, meaning GS 1 to 3. In this regard, what you see that if you're scoring 120, मतलब बहुत ही अच्छा स्कोर लिया है. ऐसा नहीं है a person who essentially is very good in public administration will not be good in paper 2. Of course, must be good. It's just that you do not get rewarded for writing good answers. On the other hand, for GS4 and essay, actually for essay and for GS4, you actually get very good marks if you're writing good answers. You can actually go up to 145, 146 in essay. Sorry, in GS4 ethics. In this regard, it could be that they essentially would want to avoid a subjective understanding of issues, and your prelims GS 1 to 3 is just a way by which we are able to understand that you're a person who's well aware. Because when you look at it, even your interview score becomes very important with respect to the service that you're going to get. अगर interview score ठस गया, मतलब कम रह गए, then the chances for you to get IAS becomes very 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 less. ये बस हमारा बहुत ही अच्छा कुछ करा है इसमें तो अलग बात है. There was एक selected candidate रचित राज, ठीक है, 130 कुछ मार्क्स थे उनके इंटरव्यू में, राइट. बट उन्होंने इतने ज्यादा स्कोर कर दिया था GS 1 2 3 4, और मतलब तब तो शायद पुराना सिस्टम था ऑप्शनल का एट दैट टाइम GS, और इसमें मेंस पे इतना स्कोर आ गया था उनका, जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड? अच्छा नहीं, उनके में नया सिस्टम. ही वाज द पर्सन हु एक्चुअली गॉट सिलेक्टेड व्हेन फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम सिलेबस हैड चेंज्ड, राइट. सो एट दैट टाइम ही गॉट वेरी हाई मार्क्स इन एथिक्स, बट ही गॉट वेरी लेस मार्क्स इन हिज इंटरव्यू. बट क्योंकि ये था तो रैंक 3 आ गई थी या 3 आ गई थी. तो ऐसा कुछ एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी हो जाए तो अलग बात है, राइट. अब ऑप्शनल का कहाँ तक जो बात है उसका, अगेन देयर इज नो रीजन फॉर इट. अब इसमें अलग अलग स्पेकुलेशन होता है. प्रॉब्लम विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑप्शनल है कि मान लो माय ऑप्शनल इज मैथ्स, इज दिस पबैड, हर्स इज इंग्लिश, और उनका साइकोलॉजी है. माय एक्सीलेंस इन मैथ्स इज बीइंग कंपेयर्ड टू हर एक्सीलेंस साइकोलॉजी और एक्सीलेंस पबैड, जो अनफेयर है. आज मैं ज्यादा अच्छा क्रिकेट खेलता हूँ या तुम ज्यादा अच्छा फुटबॉल खेलता हो, तो कैसे कंपेयर करें? In this regard, what they do is normal distribution. अब है या नहीं पता नहीं, एक टेलर्स थ्योरम लगा के they essentially try to figure out what exactly is scaling. That we essentially will scale down your marks in maths in order to make it comparable to the score that people are getting in English, comparable to the score that people are getting in sociology, etc. etc. तो इसमें हो क्या जाता है, जो नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन अगर आप टेलर्स थ्योरम पढ़ोगे, if at all very few people are taking an optional, it will go against your interest. If at all very high people are taking your optional, in this regard it will not be bad, but at the same time it will not peak कि एकदम से बहुत ज्यादा स्कोर आने की चांसेस है, वो मेथड ऐसे काम करता है। अब ये सिर्फ स्पेकुलेशन है भाई, मैं पहले ही बताता हूँ, ये नहीं कि सर मैं आरटीआई डाल के पता चला, ऐसा नहीं हुआ है। आइडिया सिर्फ स्पेकुलेशन है, but the point is, हाँ ये एक चीज है that because of this scaling system you actually see different options getting different scores, right? जैसे मैनेजमेंट है, अब सोचो तो बहुत ज्यादा अलग है नहीं पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, पर स्कोर ही नहीं आता, ये बात समझ लो। अब क्या रीजन भाई हो सकता है कि एमबीए वाले बच्चे, तो मान का डाउट हो गया, कोई डाउट ऑफलाइन में? ऑप्शनल फिगर डिसाइडिंग, सोनम आई थिंक आपका हो गया राइट सोनम? अच्छा ये सोनम आपकी बैच वाली हो, नाइस नाइस, हेलो, राइट। वुड एम इन पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हेल्प बेटर इन यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन? देखो व्हाट आई कैन टेल यू इज कि आप एक बार पबैट पढ़ लोगे यहाँ से, तो पबैट का कोई भी एग्जाम ऐसे होते हैं, एमएसएमए ये सब आराम से निकल लोगे, राइट? ये आराम से हो जाएगा, चाहे वो इग्नू का एमए हो, चाहे वो कोई टेस्ट का एंट्रेंस एग्जाम हो, विद रिस्पेक्ट टू, वो आराम से हो जाएगा। दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क एनीथिंग बियॉन्ड दैट वी आर कवरिंग द एग्जाम। अब क्या कि एमए से आर यू गोइंग टू get advantage in pubmed? Certainly you will. But then one of the things that happens with MA public administration, when I talk about Lucknow University का public administration and हमारा IGNOU का public administration, there are so many things in MA of public administration which is not part of UPSC syllabus. तो उसका कितना फायदा नहीं रहता विद रिस्पेक्ट टू यूपीएससी सिलेबस। यूपीएससी सिलेबस की अच्छी चीज क्या है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पबैट? छोटा है, राइट? सर विल यू रिसीव माई कॉल इफ आई डोंट एनरोल विद राउज आईएएस? ऐसा? हाँ बिल्कुल करेंगे वैष्णवी, इसमें क्या हो गया? ऑफ कोर्स वैष्णवी, नॉट एट ऑल एन इशू, ठीक है, आप कॉल करना, कोई आपको गाइडेंस वगैरह कुछ भी चाहिए, आई हेल्प यू आउट, ठीक है। एंड द सेम इज इवन एट राउज, अगर आप आते हो, इवन इफ यू आर नॉट अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ राउज, यू वांट एनी फॉर्म ऑफ गाइडेंस, वी एसेंशियली आर हियर टू हेल्प यू आउट। Gayatri is asking, sir, is choosing provide a wise choice when you're aiming for career in IFS? देखो IFS, IAS, IPS सिर्फ मार्क्स पे मिलता है। आई होप यू टू अंडरस्टैंड द पॉइंट। देयर आर पीपल जो तेलुगु लिटरेचर से, तमिल लिटरेचर से, मलयालम लिटरेचर से लाते हैं, क्योंकि दे आर स्कोरिंग हाई इन इट। तो आइडिया इज वट एवर ऑप्शन दैट यू आर गोइंग टू पिक, यू नीड टू स्कोर हाई इन इट। आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड? तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है दैट आईएफएस बनना तो देयर इज अ पर्टिकुलर ऑप्शन दैट यू नीड टू टेक, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। वट एवर ऑप्शन दैट यू आर टेकिंग, यू नीड टू स्कोर वेरी हाई इन इट, बिकॉज आईएफएस तो आपके टॉप 80 में होंगे। इज इट क्लियर? The idea is you need to pick that option where you're having liking and command. Please share this PDF again. ठीक है अभिनव। It's opening. ठीक है, तो उनको बोल देते हैं, we'll ask the Namaste sir, I am an aspirant from Bangalore. I am willing to join the course via online mode. Could you please detail in brief how effectively an online student can receive benefits from your course? It's raining heavily here, so I had technical issues when you were explaining it, sir. Okay. The idea is that if you're an online student, please attend classes. Please try to keep your camera open. Whenever we essentially are going to take classes, because हमारा interface इस तरीके का है, it is very open. You can ask questions directly while class is running. आप वहीं पे hand raise करके या ping करके you can ask your doubts. ठीक है? Apart from it, if at all you want to have one-on-one, what you can do, you can always that is message me. You will have my number. You can message me. We'll figure out a time in next 24 hours और हम वहाँ पे बात करके I'll clear all your doubts. If at all there's a doubt that you're having with respect to preceding class, you can add it. That is, write that doubt in the group that we are going to create, a WhatsApp group. Is it clear? Anything and everything that could be done is going to be done. Manlo, you have written some answers, you want me to correct it, give you some feedback, write those answers, make it into PDF, send it to me, I'll correct it and send back the PDF to you. Is it clear? Fine. If at all you're any time, let's say you're in Bangalore, but if at all you're coming to Delhi, you want to meet me, आप बता दो, हम लोग दिल्ली में बैठ के कर लेंगे, कुछ क्लासेस ऑफलाइन भी कर लेना, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक है। Abhishek is asking, sir, could you repeat the best optionals again? अरे मेरे भाई, सारे अच्छे optional है. Best optional is an optional in which you're going to get very good marks, and you will get very good marks in that optional where you're doing what? You're having command over it. So humanities are generally the best options. Simple लिखना चाहो. Although maths is doing very well in last 3-4 years, mathematics ने बहुत अच्छा पिकअप किया है. If at all your maths पढ़ना है ना तो कर सकते हो. Around 6-7 years back, maths, physics were not doing good. So at that time, even I actually wanted to go for physics जब मेरी तैयारी थी. But जब मैंने देखा यार मार्क्स तो आते नहीं. What about economics? बढ़िया optional है तेजस्विनी. It's very good. Economics is a very good optional, and at least in last few years, you'll actually see it's doing very well, no doubt about it. Raghav, for how many days would we get? Arey bhai, Tamil is also good in terms of schooling. If at all you can go with it, Sankar Babu, Tamil is doing well. Raghav is asking how many days do we get recording of the class? Yeah, I'll confirm it. I think एक महीना रहता है ना. It's 1 month, 30 days. पर देखो 24 hours में देख लो. नहीं तो क्या हो जाएगा, अगली क्लास भी नहीं छूटेगी, फिर अगली क्लास छूटेगी, फिर लगेगा बिंज वॉच करूंगा. तो बिंज वॉच पंचायत हो सकता है, बिंज वॉच बिग बैंग थ्योरी हो सकता है, फॉरवर्ड नहीं हो पाएगा बिंज वॉच, राइट. तो ट्राई टू कंप्लीट योर बैकलॉग विद इन 24 आवर्स, ठीक है. Sir, will notes be as detailed as they were in ethics and governance? It will be a lot more detailed than that, Raghav. What we covered in ethics and governance, we had to cover within certain number of classes. Here, we do not have any barrier with respect to number of classes. Whatever it takes to do justice to coverage of the syllabus, we are going to do it. 95% of the things that we are going to cover is going to be in form of handwritten notes. Only few things which, for example, PSUs, Navratna, Maratna, these are certain things, or disaster management, that will be in the form of PDF. जो उसमें पहले हम क्लास में प्रॉपर पीपीटी में समझेंगे, and you will get a set of copy of that PDF with you. Is it clear? Only those topics where it does not make sense for me to dictate something which is directly from the book. But बाकी जितनी analytic aspects है, examples है, everything will be given. In fact, one of the things that I forgot to say, जो examples are required from current affairs, in the class itself I'll be giving it. You don't really have to prepare another set of examples. Is it clear? So can we do GS and PubAd together? देखो, that depends on your capacity. करना तो करते ही बच्चे. There are so many students who are doing their 2 GS classes and 1 PubAd class. What you should not be doing, ideally, in my opinion, बाकी तो देखो, मतलब Article 19 liberty है सबकी. The idea is what? That do not do anything more than 3 classes. 3 से ज्यादा करोगे सैचुरेट हो जाओगे. तो 3 is something that you should keep as a the optimum limit. इससे ज्यादा नहीं करो, ठीक है. बट हाँ 3 तक कर सकते हो. राघव is asking sir also what all we are going to get from Raos in study material. देखो, my point is the way in which I go about it. I want your material to be as less as possible. So my classroom notes are going to be more than enough. Apart from it, the material that I'm going to give it. Apart from it, मैं printed notes इसलिए दे रहा हूँ so that you essentially are getting that satisfaction. ठीक है, मैं printed notes भी मिल गए. But you don't really require it. You don't really have to study it. I hope you're able to understand what I'm trying to say, Raghav. I do not want you to do anything in which is not required. पर एक चीज तो एक्सपेक्टेशन है. पिछली बार तो मैंने दिए भी नहीं था, पिछली 2 बार से. बट ठीक है बच्चे, यार ले लो. द पॉइंट इज इट्स नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, क्योंकि वो बहुत ज्यादा है. इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी, राइट. व्हाट इज नेसेसरी इज attend classes, make proper meticulous notes, ask your doubts, clear your doubts, attempt test, and I'm promising you there will not be anything in PubAd paper that you'll not be able to clear, that you'll not be able to write. ठीक है. टफ चीज क्या है? टफ चीज है टू अटेंड ऑल द क्लासेस, टू बी अटेंटिव एंड टू बी रेगुलर. अगर ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर ली, एवरीथिंग विल फॉल इन प्लेस, माय गारंटी. ठीक है. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? माय प्लेजर राघव. ठीक है, मेरा नंबर भी है ही. ठीक है. इसको अभी मैं बंद नहीं कर रहा था. आई जस्ट आस्क्ड हिम टू अपलोड द पीडीएफ अगेन. ठीक है, फॉर एवरीवन. एंड जिनको ने डाउनलोड नहीं हुआ, प्लीज ट्राई टू डाउनलोड इट अगेन. ठीक है. अगर फिर भी नहीं हो रहा, तो जिनका डाउनलोड नहीं हो रहा वो अपना फोन नंबर यहाँ लिख दे, और जिनका डाउनलोड हो गया है वो उनको व्हाट्सअप कर दे. आई होप यू टू अंडरस्टैंड क्या कह रहा हूँ मैं. कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट. Is it clear? Sir, I really like your cool and calm nature. Thank you, Vaishnavi. Right. My pleasure. ठीक है, राघव ने डाल दिया नंबर। तो जिसने भी डाउनलोड कर लिया है, आकाश, आप डाल देना, ठीक है? आप प्लीज सेंड कर देना, अभिनव गिल को भी सेंड कर देना प्लीज व्हाट्सएप। थैंक यू। यस राघव। स्टैंसन का भी है, ठीक है। आई ऑल्सो आस्क देम टू अपलोड इट ओवर हियर। अभिषेक का तुम लोग डाउनलोड तो किया है ना, ऐसा तो नहीं कि डाउनलोड हो नहीं हो रहा तो बता ना। ठीक है। चल आकाश, कितनों के नंबर सेव करेगा? दीक्षा is asking, sir, how much time does one require to devote to optional after class for revision? अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा सवाल है। The idea is कि sir, we are going to come in class, we are going to sit for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, then we'll go back. What exactly should we do after that? Just revise the notes. Just keep on reading what exactly is the note that has been given. तो आपने आज के किए, फिर अगले दिन 2 दिन के कर लो। वीक में ट्राई टू क्रिएट अ सिस्टम बाय विच एक हफ्ते के नोट्स एक साथ सैटरडे संडे जब भी छुट्टी मिली एक बार पढ़ लो। Whatever that is the notes that you're going to write down, if you want to revise, it will not take more than 45 minutes, 50 minutes for you to revise. उसको बार बार पढ़ते रहना, that is what I'm advising you. Just keep on figuring out ways by which you are reading them again and again. I'm saying good 10, 12 times by the time we have completed paper 1 and paper 2. उसको बार बार पढ़ते रहोगे। I'm telling you, I'm promising you कि you will be able to answer questions that they are going to ask in the exam. Sir, answer writing will be daily in class itself. It will not be daily. It will be on periodic basis as and when we are completing some keystone topics, right? ठीक है? I am going to keep on giving you questions. Then at your convenience, you can write and you can ping me कि sir भेज दिया. And over the weekends, I'll actually be checking your answer copies. ठीक है, man? Such a relief, sir. Can we have more time for GS presentation? अब जीएस में कैसे बढ़ाऊँ मैं? अभी जीएस का तो हमारी मास्टर क्लासेस चलती है। अच्छा, दिस आई कैन टेल यू। So at Raos, what we are having are master classes for every topic, for polity, for economy, for geography. Today I had taken a master class with respect to polity. तो मेरा सजेशन विल बी कि आप हमारे से मतलब वेबसाइट वगैरह पे बी ए रेगुलर विजिटर एंड जो भी है इंस्टाग्राम ज्वाइन कर लो, जो भी सोशल मीडिया हमारा ज्वाइन कर लोगे, you'll keep on getting update with respect to these sessions that we're conducting. And I'm telling you, I'm promising you, these sessions are very helpful with respect to getting the right strategy. मानस आसिंग सर, आंसर राइटिंग विल बी डेली इन क्लास। अभी तो बताया भाई, इसे मैंने पढ़ लिया क्या फिर से क्वेश्चन? इट विल नॉट बी डेली मान भाई, इट विल बी ऑन पीरियोडिक बेसिस एज एंड व्हेन वी आर कवरिंग दी सिलेबस। ओके सर, थैंक यू। यस, ठीक है। चलो, टेक केयर एवरीवन, टेक केयर। आई जस्ट आस्क देम टू पुट दैट पीडीएफ अगेन, ठीक है? बाय बाय।